Alright, so the first thing I'll be doing is actually plugging up the controllers so that while I'm installing them, while I'm installing everything else, they will have time to charge so that I can get to playing as soon as it's good to go. And I don't know if it quite picked up that noise, but as soon as you plug it up, it makes a little noise and that light will come on. Yes, it is currently red, or orangish. The tools I got for the installation, which are, again, this is optional. I got some drill bits so that I can drill into the wall. And then I've got my cordless drill. Alright, so this is the setup instructions that it gives you. They're pretty quick and to the point. A couple different languages, of course. So the first step is playing your play area. I've already done such. Last night I knew it was on the way, so I cleaned out a good space to start playing in. I will be using the room scale setup. There's also a setup for standing and seated. So that would of course be if you're just standing pretty much in one spot looking around or moving around in a very, very small location. And it's a very, very similar setup, except of course your sensors will be closer. But again, like I said, I'll be going for the room scale setup. I have about 7.5 feet, probably about 15 feet. The minimum for your room scale, if you're going to do room scale VR, then you will need to have 6 feet 6 inches by 5 feet, or 2 meters by 1.5 meters. Like I said, I have that amount of space. The next thing, and actually one of the things you can do before your HTC Vive arrives, is to download the software that you'll need. And it took me about 10-15 minutes to go through all that, because you have to set up an account as well. If you don't already have Steam on your computer, then it will have to download that. You'll have to set that account up as well. Again, that will take a bit longer too. I already did have a Steam account, so that kind of knocked part of that out. But anyways, what I did was just basically Google HTC Vive setup. And it'll take you to the htcvive.com/setup. And you'll download that software and it'll just of course guide you through that. I've already done it, so I can't exactly show you that. But again, like I said, it'll just walk you through, and it'll be about 5 minutes of stuff that it'll tell you need to do. Again, you have to sign up, verify your email, and things like that. Stuff that you can do the night before it arrives, so as soon as it gets here, you can plug it in, play it, and go. So again, like I said, I downloaded that already, and then you'll set it up. What you need to do first is actually set up your room. Okay, so we've got, I've already picked out one of the locations for my lighthouse. Again, they have to be in opposite corners of the room, so diagonal from each other. I believe one of the things they were saying is they have 120 degrees view of your playing area. 6.5 feet is what it said would be the minimum of where you need to mount it. Minimum is kind of the word that sticks out to me, so I imagine if I mounted it higher, say I was in a game and I wanted to jump and smack something off the top, or if I wanted to build some roller coaster really, really high, I imagine the higher I mount the sensors, the higher I would be able to do stuff in the game. So I'm actually going to go right at 73 inches, which is right there. Just make a little mark on my wall. This is the actual mounting device they give you. It is like I guess it is kind of like a big nut on the outside that screws in, and a little ball pivot point. So that again, this is where it mounts to the wall on the flat side. And you'll be able to screw this into the back of the lighthouse, like so. Tighten this down once you got it where you want it, adjust it, and then lock it in. And attaching that to the wall is you have 2 wall anchors. These are good if you're mounting them into sheetrock. They're, like I said, they're not very heavy, so it won't tear out your wall and mess up your wall. And a lot of times it's a pain in the butt to find studs. So these are good. You pre-drill a hole in the wall about that size, and I'll find the bit in a second. And then you shove this into the wall. So that would be on the wall. You'll line this up and you'll put the screw in through there, and the screw actually goes into this piece, which expands it a little bit and gets it a good grip into your wall. The bit that seems to really work good with this one will be a 7/32. That's the bit I will be using to drill the hole in the wall for this. You could go a little bit smaller, but that's just the one I'm going with. You could do it the old school way that I've done it many times if you don't have a drill. Is you just find basically a screwdriver with a thin shaft and line it up, line up your holes and punch a hole in the wall. Sheetrock's not very hard to get through. But, seeing as I'm not going to do it the janky way, I'll show you what I'm doing. So I've outlined the holes in the wall that I'll be drilling. Now I'm drilling the holes. Real simple, it kind of gets dust everywhere, so don't have your computer directly below it. I wouldn't suggest. Then I'm going to take the 2 anchor points, plug them in those holes. Hopefully I can reach the top one. Just barely. I'm gonna do it the dangerous way. Standing on a swivel chair. Terrible idea.
Ooh. I can't do that.
Alright, so they're a little bit of a pain in the butt to get in. Hammer time.
Pen cat.
More random heavy object in the room time.
What? What's on my computer?
I really hope your computer doesn't say "Gah, gah, gah, gah." Okay, so once you drill the holes, they won't go all the way in. They'll have a little bit sticking out, so you can either get a hammer and finish hitting them in, or if you're too lazy and don't feel like going downstairs to get one, or you don't own a hammer, you can just find a heavy object in the room and bash it in with, and we'll do that. There we go, and you just want to hit it till it goes flush with the wall. Alright, and then you get the screw on and you screw it in. Okay, so word to the wise, whenever you do that, don't shove too hard because you'll just shove the plastic piece right into the wall and it'll fall down and it'll be useless. But I learned my lesson on the second one and it is much tighter. Again, like I said, these things aren't very heavy, so you don't have to have a whole lot holding them up. There's one completed and done. I'll screw the Lighthouse on. It comes with a plastic film over it. Take that off. And of course the power adapter, I'm going to plug that up before I stick it on there. Alright, so as soon as I plugged it up, you feel something whirling, something spinning or doing something in there. Anyways, if you're not connecting them using the cable between the two, and you're using the wireless feature, you will have to set one to B and C. One will be set to B and one will be set to C. So I'll go ahead and set this one to B. Make sure the cord's not all tangled up. Make sure I don't fall off my chair. And go ahead and screw that in the back. Alright, and once it's screwed in good, you want to tighten, you want to get it pointed down a little bit. They said use a 40, I believe a 20 degree to a 45 degree angle to point to the center of your play area. So the play area you plan on playing in, just point it to the center of that essentially. And then of course tighten down the big nut on the back that locks in the angle. Alright, we got one down and one to go. Okay, and we'll pretty much do the exact same thing on this side. Again, 7 foot 3 inches. Mark that. I fortunately have a plug right below where I'll be putting it in. So that's kind of one of the things you need to think about while you're planning out your play space, is where your plugs will be. In total, to set up the HTC Vive, you will need 3 outlets to run it, basically. Then of course 2 more additional outlets to charge your hand controllers. Again, I'm just going to plug in the power source, take off the clear plastic piece, which you may be able to leave on, but I will not. Go ahead and plug that in. Give it a moment to come up. It's already on B, so I'll push the button one time and set it to C. Set that there for a minute. Got my mounting bracket. And again, I will mark my drill holes with this. Again, find the nearest heavy object to pass you with. I marked it off. There we go. Oh, there it went. Perfect. No, let's get the top one. Got one on each one. Alright. And I'll screw it in. You set that one to C? Yep. And then center it, point it to the middle of the play area. And that seems to be somewhat at a 20 to 45 degree angle. Okay, so we're going to plug up the box. Of course, like I said, you go on the dark side. That side is for the headset. I've got this other end plugged up to a power outlet. So you'll plug it in there. This is the HDMI port. One thing to make sure you plan ahead for is to make sure you have an open HDMI port on the back of your graphics card. If not, you will need to make sure you have the appropriate adapters. I was running 2 monitors, and now I can only run because I do not have the now I can only run 1 because I don't have the appropriate adapters. I will have to order them in and get them to set them up later. But anyway, so you plug in the HDMI. Same thing with the USB. Make sure you got an open USB port on the back or on the front of your PC, and you plug that in. I got it right the first time. Alright, then you will plug in the headset. Again, orange pieces on there, you plug them in. Yep, didn't get it the first time. There we go. The power and the HDMI. As soon as you plug this in, I believe it will begin installing the device, the drivers. Do not close that out. Do not cancel it. Do not turn off your PC, and do not disconnect anything while it's doing that. It could mess up the installation process. So just give it a few seconds to finish installing, and then we'll continue on from there.